Helio, a bit of energy today. Not much though. This, strangely, is an IMF working paper on energy. It's the future of oil, geology versus technology, and it's done in a very IMF way. It's not so many charts, it's all algebra, which I don't understand at all. But what they're trying to do is get the right balance between what the geologists say and what the technologists say. The geologists said, look, we're running out of oil over the peak and far away. And the technology people say, but we can do this, we can do that, we can do that, etc. And they're economic type things which say sale and demand. As the price goes up, the technology will cut in and save the day. And the whole paper is to try and balance the two. So as I say, it's mainly numbers and things. So we go to the conclusion right at the end, which is written in writing that we can understand. So I've just highlighted a bit of the conclusion. Our empirical results also indicate that if the model's predictions continue to be as accurate as they have been over the last decade, the future will not be easy. So what they've done is made themselves a model. Yes, they're economists, so they made themselves a model, and they find that the model is good at predicting future price rises or falls, but mainly rises, obviously. And it's worked for the last decade and the projections forward, while our model is not as pessimistic as the pure geological view, which typically holds that binding resource constraints will lead world oil production onto an inexorable downward trend in the very near future. Our prediction of small further increases in world oil production comes at the expense of a near doubling permanently of real oil prices over the coming decade. So they've kind of gone into the middle. Yes, the technology boys will be able to do something if they're given a doubling of the price, which it's hard to argue against. But you can see the geologists saying, well, you can do as much technology as you like, but if the oil ain't there to be got, it won't be got. But the technologist says, look, we've now gone offshore, we can drill 3 miles deep, we can do this, that and the other, the fracking and the other things, and there will be a balance between the two. And the IMF doc has gone for this. Basically, a doubling of the price will give us a small increase in oil. At the bottom, we also suspect that the assumption that technology is independent of the availability of fossil fuels may be inappropriate, so that a lack of availability of oil may have aspects of a negative technology shock. In other words, what they're saying here is, if we do get less oil, that will have knock-on effects to much more technology, and there will not be the great exponential rise in technology that we have hitherto experienced. With an oil shock, we will also get a technology shock, so everything actually slows down. Right, I might come back to that a bit at the end, but let's move on to another one. The second link is about peak water, and I've just about got through all of it, but it's quite a hard read. It's one of these kind of papers, and when they write papers, they don't make it for people like you and me to read. They make it for them to read among themselves. Again, I've just gone straight to the bottom and gone to conclusions, implications of peak water. As the world anticipates a resource-constrained future, the spectre of peak oil, peaking in the production of oil, has been predicted. Real limits on water are far more worrisome and far more difficult to evaluate. The limits on traditional non-renewable sources such as petroleum. Water is fundamental for ecosystem health and for economic productivity, and for many uses it has no substitutes. This paper offers 3 separate definitions of peak water for renewable and non-renewable water systems, and also introduces the concept of peak ecological water. We also raise the possibility that the United States has already passed the point of peak water. The concept of peak water does not mean we will run out of water. Water is a renewable resource and is not consumed in the global sense. Hence, water uses within renewable peak limits can continue indefinitely. That water uses within renewable peak limits can continue indefinitely, but not all water use is renewable. Indeed, some water uses are not renewable and therefore are unsustainable. Groundwater use beyond normal recharge rates follows a peak oil type curve with a peak and then a decline in water production. Such peak non-renewable water problems are increasingly evident in major groundwater basins with critical levels of overdraft, such as the Ogallala and California's Central Valley in the United States, the North China Plains, and in numerous states in India such as Andhra Pradesh, Rajasthan and Tamil Nadu, and then goes on to do other things. Just to keep it always in the back of our minds that peak oil is bad, but peak water would be even worse. So third and last for today is this one, crude oil inventories, and this is bang up to date. Just over the last 7 weeks, I think this is, and the blue line there, 2012 inventories, this is the United States, this is from the IEA, the American one anyway. And the orange and yellows are the average from the last 10 years and average since 1984 of inventories. And you can see the inventories of oil in the United States is absolutely massively bigger, more than normal, going back any sort of distance. There's oil everywhere, but in the United States. Now this is the great big point of this video, I suppose, presentation. That is oil in the United States, overflowing, oil everywhere, but the price is hanging up there to a greater extent. It started to fall over the last week or so, but that's because I think most people are seeing that the economy is moving, the world economy is moving from, let's say, blah plus to blah. The world economy is turning down, and so we'll need less oil. So I'll just put in here my opinion on the speculators thing. Speculators do drive up the price of oil. There will be absolutely no doubt about that. But what speculators do is they go on the mojo, they go on the momo, they go on the momentum. If the price looks like it should have upward momentum, they will jump on the speculators and drive the price up. But if there is a turning down of the momo momentum going downwards, the speculators will jump on and drive the price down further than it naturally would have fallen. So there's a good chance that if things do start look like they're turning to shit all over, and there's no reason anymore that the price of oil should be high, and it's looking like the price of oil should be low, it could well turn right down quite dramatically. And that's what I think speculators do. They take the momentum and drive it along, whether it be up or down. This is why the price of gas, that is natural gas in the United States at $2 or whatever it is probably unnaturally low, because the general trend, or the momo, is downwards, so the speculators drive it further downwards. So you can argue or moan about the price of gas in your tank being too high. It probably is. Over the last 12 months there's been reason for the speculators to drive the price up. But there has been reason over the last 12 months for the speculators to drive down the price of natural gas. So you win on a roundabout and lose on a swing there. Should speculators be taken out of the market? I don't know. Is it possible? I don't know. It'd take an awful lot of the powers that be brains, and they don't seem to have many of those. Right, where are we? These inventories. Okay, this is inventory of oil in the United States. My question would be, what are the inventories of oil like in India, Russia, China, Brazil, places where they are really still driving growth upwards. They're still on the go-go. And I would suspect that they are low. And that is what we are going to get in the future. More of this, where inventories might overflow to the upside in the West, and they'll always be low in the East, because the East will always pay that marginal cent, or whatever you want to call it, extra to get the oil. And this is what absolutely the picture that we're going to get over the next 10 years. Whatever happens, the East will pay that extra bit of money to get the oil. We will not. Therefore, we will not use the oil. They will use it in the East. And they will use it and will not probably have a technology shock, even though there is a price increase, because they will be adapting to the higher price as it comes on. It's more of a shock to us when it happens, because we have less mobile economies. We are kind of stuck doing what we do. They are just on the move and will adapt by being on the move to higher oil prices as they come on, and their technology will not be pulled down by it. And all we can really hope is that they, with their drive of using the energy and will not having a technology shock, so their technology will come on as well. Hopefully they will think well enough of us that when they develop what they do develop, they'll come along and help us, because we will be by then falling dreadfully behind. And that's it for Friday, I think. Thanks, bye.